participant in that, what would your school finance system look like? Let's change it up. Let's start with the chapter and go around.
Well, I know that school finance is an extremely complicated animal. It's kind of disproportionate with the Robinson system and money going from rich schools to poor schools and vice versa. And some schools are not getting what they deserve. So, without knowing the details, I believe we need a more equitable system to where the same amount of dollars will be funded by the state for each student. So I don't know without being an expert in that field, but I would like to see something more equitable than what we have, from what I've been told.
Mr. Mason?
2 sessions ago, there was roughly $5 billion taken out of the public school system, and then last session they restored about 80% of that. And so we saw 2 sessions ago, we saw a lot of teacher cuts, and we saw all of that attrition and layoffs and losing counselors and things of that nature. I've been on the Lindale Independent School District Board of Trustees for 6 years and been through all of that. I am an advocate for public schools, and I've been to these public schools. I've visited with the principals, and I've visited with the teachers, and I see all the great things that they're doing. The real problem that public schools are going through right now is that they get so much negative press that no one wants to talk about the great things that they're doing. Great things. There's a product right there. Great things. They're doing. You've heard him talk tonight. He's polished in this talking stuff. So he's polished, and we know that. But as far as school finance goes, we know there's going to be a tough legislation. The next session is going to be a tough legislation time because of the price of oil, and so we've got to be equitable to every school, because every school out there in rural Texas are not being able to keep their buses up. They're not being able to maintain their business, their buildings, and it's a safety issue. But my belief for public schools, and this is how passionate I am about them, here in East Texas, here in rural East Texas, and in rural West Texas, and every part of the rural Texas that you can talk about, the communities revolve around the ISDs. The community, if you don't believe me, drive through the town and look what T-shirts they're wearing. The communities, they're the #1 employer in most of the towns in District 5. The number one employer. So if we start messing with those, we're going to be messing with payrolls, and we're going to be messing with jobs. So I think we have to keep them strong.
I appreciate those kind words, Jay. We can get you an endorsement card if you're ready for that anytime.
Maybe in about 10 years.
Well, I can tell you, public schools aren't just a nice amenity that the state provides. The Texas Constitution states that a general diffusion of knowledge being essential to the preservation of the rights and liberty of the people, the legislature shall make appropriations for an efficient system of public free schools. Our public schools have to be the #1 focus for the state of Texas when it comes to education policy. Because education is the great equalizer. It's the thing that unlocks opportunity for people. It definitely has done that in my life. And we understand that the highest aspiration of our public school system is to protect our liberties and protect our freedom. Because it's impossible for you to truly be free if your mind is a slave to ignorance. It's only through education that we're able to better ourselves. So the legislature has to start by making public schools one of their top priorities. I want to eliminate a lot of the unfunded mandates that the legislature puts on our unfunded schools, on our school districts, unfunded mandates. I was talking to the assistant superintendent at Lindale. One of the most recent examples, last session, the legislature required that all schools provide video cameras in the special ed classrooms, maintain a database of that going back 6 months. That's costing school districts like Lindale thousands of dollars that they could have otherwise been spending on new science equipment, new books, teacher retention. And it's this one-size-fits-all that Austin has when it comes to our schools that has to be broken. our schools out here in rural East Texas are a lot different and have different needs than our schools in Dallas. And we have to return a level of local control. We have to have that mindset down in Austin. Local school board members know what's best for their local communities. That's why I hope Jay Meisenheimer stays on the Lindale School Board for a time in the future. Because he knows what's best. But he's part of that community. He sees those people. His kids are going through schools. We have to return to respect for local control. We have to end the one-size-fits-all. And we have to make public schools a higher priority at the legislature.